Rev up your engines! Alright, if you remember from a past video, this car's making a little bit of noise. We road tested it with 4 guys. You could hear the noise coming out here. And this wheel bearing was worn, but it didn't have any play. Customer's mother does not like the sound. We're going to have to replace the wheel bearing. And in this case, it only comes as an entire hub assembly, the bearing and the hub. Very expensive at Toyota, but they opted to go with an aftermarket one. So we're going to take it apart, replace it with an aftermarket one, and pray that the ABS system still works and the aftermarket one is built correctly. So we're going to jack it up in the air, nice safe place, put a jack stand under it. Okay, so we'll go under the car to find a place to jack it. Here's the notches right here. That's for the factory jack, so we'll just jack it up right there. Unibody construction, so you have to jack them at the jack points. If you put it on the unibody frame, you're gonna bend stuff. Get it nice and high, and we'll stick the jack stand for safety. There. So we'll take the wheel off. Now this whole hub assembly inside has to come off, so we're going to take the brakes off. First we pull the caliper off, take the bolt off, slide this out of the way. It's old, so we got to give it a little wiggling. There we go, now that's out of the way. Then we bolt off the whole assembly. 17mm on the backing plates here. There's 2 big bolts. We take them off, then the whole brake caliper comes off, then this comes off. They stick often. So out comes a big hammer. This one's stuck on so hard, even the hammer won't get it off. So good thing Toyota has these little holes we can put bolts in. So out comes my handy pack of nuts and bolts, and we'll find ones that fit. Let's see how good my eyes are guessing. Let's see if this size goes in there. Nope, too small. There we go. There's one. And then you get another one, and you do one on the top and one on the bottom. Once you start them, you turn them till they hit. Then you got a socket, in this case it's 13mm, it fits right on. And you gradually tighten them. Pull this off. See how it's coming off now? Off it goes. You gotta replace this whole hub, and as you can hear that noise? Shouldn't make any noise at all, so it's worn out. We gotta replace this whole assembly. Inside here, you can see, that's the other end of the bolt. So, gotta unbolt them from the inside here. In this case, it's a 14mm bolts. There's 4 of them that hold this in place. But there's hardly any working room in there, so we're gonna use a regular box end wrench and my giant hammer again. We'll get them off that way. Where there's a will, there's a way. You can do the rest with your finger. Not my finger, it's too wimpy. Now I can do the rest with my finger. There's 1, we're working on 2. You make them long because they got to hold the whole car together. There's 2. Here comes 3 on the bottom right. Like I said, they got to be long because they're holding the whole hub on. There's 3, and here comes 4. You got to start it with a lot of hammer. Unless you're Superman, which I am not. Then you can do the rest with your finger. And the whole hub comes out, but they often stick. You gotta do hammer with them sometimes. It's pretty stuck in there. Comes the old slide hammer kit. Now, if you don't have a slide hammer kit, lots of stores like AutoZone, O'Reilly's, they'll loan you one free so you don't even have to buy it. Simple device. You just have to get it so 2 of them fit. Put a little bolt on here, and 1 down here. And the slide hammer screws into here. And off it comes. There we go. Now normally this is a cut and dry job. Here's the hub assembly. You can see it doesn't make any noise at all, the new one. But the old one has rusted solid. Onto the backing plate, no matter how hard you hit it, it won't come up. So I'm gonna have to heat it up with a torch to get the old one off. Now you can't heat it up with a torch if it's a new one because it'll ruin the bearings and melt the sensor inside this plastic. But since we're throwing the old one away, we don't care. So I'll fire up my torch, heat it up red hot, and get it off. First you light the acetylene. Then add a little oxygen. There we go, now we can heat it up. You want to get it nice and hot around the edge. And we'll turn the torch off and see if we can whack it off. That's not moving yet, I'll have to heat it up some more. Well, finally I hammered it off, and you can see there's all kinds of rust in here. So we got to clean that off before we put the new one on. Wire brushes work great. Then we'll put the plate over and get a couple of the bolts that bolt on. There's one here, that'll go through here, and we'll do another one on the other side. There we go. One on each side. The sensor goes in the whole side. We got it in. We tighten up the 4 bolts back here, the 14 millimeter. Get them nice and tight. Now theoretically you're supposed to torque them. The torque wrench, which you're gonna use later, put the wheels on. But there's no room to fit a torque wrench in there. So take my advice. When you're done, you do it with this regular wrench after it's snug and hammer it down tight, because this isn't a normal old-fashioned wheel bearing, which you tighten in the middle. That's the important torque. That's already made. These are just the bolts that hold it in place. We're going to torque the lug nuts, but those doesn't really matter. Like I said, you get your regular ratchet, the 14 millimeter, get them all tight, then get your 14 millimeter box end wrench and your big hammer if you can find it. I seem to have misplaced mine. There it is. You want to get it tight. There, and do all 4. And now you can hear nothing. You don't hear any noise because it's a new bearing. You gotta buy the whole assembly, the bearing's inside, but now it won't make any noise. Then you get your brake rotor. Don't forget to take the 2 bolts off that we used to pull it off with. And it's on. We'll put the brake bracket back on. That's 17 millimeter on the back. Same thing there. I'll get the 17 millimeter box in to make them tight. We'll snap the brake pads back in, put the caliper on, and put the last bolt in the back. Then we'll put the wheel back on. Start with a couple of them. Now here's where wheel torque is important. Here's a torque wrench. We're going to set it at 80 foot-pounds. That's what those are tightened to. And you pull it until they click. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we'll take it for a ride, see if the noise is gone. Roll up the window so I can hear noises better. And away we go, and no more roaring wheel noise. And here's some bonus questions and answers. All right, here we go again with crappy Kias. Kia just recalled 308,000 vehicles because they can start on fire, and they're telling you, well, in the meantime, park your car outside, so if you put it in your garage, it won't burn your house down. Quality cars here. Oh, those Kias are just so well made. They're recalling 2017 to 19 Cadenzas and the 2017 to 21 Sportage. They could start on fire. Now this covers 379,931 of these Kias. So if you're one of the lucky owners of those, you better check into it, not park your car in the garage. They can get electric short circuit in the engine compartment and start on fire. Now the short occurs in the hydraulic electronic control unit, so it has to do with the ABS brake stuff, and they already had recalls for some of them for the same problem with the ABS system. Like I say, Kia, their quality just is not there. They pretend that, oh, it's great, it's the biggest growing brand, blah blah blah, but let me tell you, they don't hold up. You got cars that are this new and they might start on fire. I would say have a fire sale, sell yours fast and get away and get a quality car like a Toyota or a Honda, because if you remember last year, they recalled 591,000 Hyundais and Kias for a brake fluid leak. This is a hydraulic system too, so basically, they don't make very good cars. Don't buy one, and you won't be stuck with this problem in the first place. Pete Taylor says, Scotty, you mentioned about paying attention to the country a tire is made. What countries besides the U.S. make good tires? What countries should we avoid? I generally avoid a lot of the Asian tires, especially the cheaper ones. I've seen a lot of cheap Chinese-made tires. But here's the thing. It's all how they're made if the factory does a good job. There is a Korean tire manufacturer 4 miles from my house here in Tennessee. They make very good tires. They're made here in the United States. The whole thing about tires is quality of how they're made and basically how they're vulcanized. The longer they're vulcanized, the stronger they are. The problem with the Chinese ones are they want to save money. It takes a lot of heat to vulcanize rubber, so they don't heat them up long enough to save money on fuel. And the tires can be crap and they wear out too fast and nails poke through them. A lot of them aren't that good, especially the cheaper ones. The ones made in the United States, Canada, of course, like Michelin, the ones made in France are great. German tires are generally pretty good. But you gotta look at the tire when you buy it, because there's lots of tires. I've seen Michelin tires that were made in China. You'd be surprised where a lot of these manufacturers are. Just just because you say you're buying Goodyear tires, you want to look at the tire before you buy it. It has to say on the tire where it's made. If it says made in China, my advice is don't buy it. One's made in the United States, Canada, they're excellent. And like the Korean tire factory, it's just down the street here. It's made here in the United States. They don't cut corners when they make them here. It's more where the tire's made, not the actual company's name these years. It's where it's made that's important. So you always want to look at the tires. You're buying tires, say, I want to see the tire you're selling me. Have them bring it to you and read it. If it says made in China, say no, I don't want it made in China. You get a better tire that way. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.